what the hell is that? Oktoberfest, man.
That was a very I can't think of the word.
Thomas, did you just speak?
Yes, I'm allowed to speak. It wasn't even about university.
How that wasn't it?
Yeah, you used the word. The unholy word.
Yeah, we're here. Me and Harry, the people you signed up for, and Tom, who is here, to talk about a couple things.
A treasure trove of topics is actually how I like to put it. I don't know when we're going to get to what was originally planned, to be honest. But it's not going to be this week, I can tell you that much. I still want to do it, and honestly, this could spin off into a weird discussion. I don't know. It might also be really short. I don't know. I think I'd rather it be short, because otherwise we're probably just going to get angry. Although I don't think there's that much to get angry about. It all started on Tuesday, the 5th of September, when Ghost Ship Games decided to post a premiere for an upcoming trailer for Oktoberfest, which immediately caught my attention because I thought to myself, hold on, that's not normal in any capacity. Because I sort of skimmed back through everything they'd done. It's like, yeah, that's not a thing. Because even last Christmas, they did something. They gave us their heart. They had the small teaser for it was literally just for the elf costumes, really. Although you could call it a Christmas trailer, but it was called they just called it like the Xmas gift or something. So basically, that was my way of I interpreted that as there hasn't technically been a trailer for an event before. So I was like, okay, how are they going to justify this then? And they justify it by it being exactly the same as the Christmas one last year, except they just called it a trailer for some reason. It's exactly the same thing. Although, with less stuff. Basically, what it is this Oktoberfest, we're going to get a similar addition to what we had Christmas last year in the form of a costume. It's just like Lederhosen. He's just going to be a German man, a German dwarf, robed in class colours, at the very least. At the very least.
If we're going by the Christmas one, probably not going to be changeable.
I know, and I mean, there's once again, there's no real justification for that. It's better than the elf costume. It is better. I want to point that out. I actually think it's a nice sort of piece of clothing, which makes it all the more desirable for us to actually be able to customize it properly, though. That's the thing. So
it looks like roughneck for engineering.
A little bit, yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. The plaid shirts and whatnot. Wow.
Yeah.
The thing is, I can't say much because it actually technically aligns with what I've said before with how they should do things, which is we know the hat's going to be, not a good cosmetic. We know that. I mean, and also it's like, you could honestly claim they've already run out of ideas, given it's just a bucket with sausages in it, all right? So it's just like, yeah, okay, just do the hat, but also maybe do another thing. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Christmas had a costume, Bosco framework, and a pickaxe. It's not that.
Well, I think, genuinely, they did good.
Okay, yeah.
This is probably... This is not sustainable. Right, you're only going to be able to do one of these per thing, but if they start doing stuff like this, like a hat, and for now a uniform, and then next year, since they can't really do a uniform again, it'll be like a hat and pickaxe, and it'll be a sausage on the pickaxe. I imagine. I can see that.
All right, yeah, that's not bad.
And then a hat.
Maybe they could turn Bosco into a barrel. Maybe they could turn Bosco.
Well, yeah, they could. We'll give him a little,
They've already done that.
I know, but dress him up in whatever the drip is for this celebration. But ultimately, I think
why would Bosco get dressed up?
He did last year.
Bosco gets
Christmas.
the hardest drip.
He does get the hardest drip.
Reliably fire.
Nobody actually uses Bosco.
No, not really. And you can't actually use all of the cosmetics on him anymore either.
What?
There's more cosmetics for Bosco than Bosco loadouts.
Oh yeah.
which not sure how if that makes sense,
I
but
don't know what that says about our society.
I think it says that we're consumerism and capitalism.
Too far into a not real robot.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it is interesting because at this point, should we start expecting it for Halloween?
No,
Or...
no, I don't think so. I do not think so at all. I mean, the difficult thing for me is sort of balancing in my head what this is actually doing, because it's just cosmetics after all. So we know that it's not taking away from certain aspects, like, making actual content. Not that cosmetics aren't actual content, but I think you catch my drift. But is it still... it's not like it's low effort either. So is it taking away in any way from the actual cosmetics we get in a season, for example? Especially because we've talked a lot about how we kind of want to see them maybe try not doing a framework, possibly doing something like armor instead. And they've obviously have acknowledged things like how most of the armors really are from DLCs. And they have, added a couple. After this, they would have added a couple in game since, but they would just be costumes. And if once again you can't customize them properly, then they're not really actually fulfilling something where they could fulfill that weird gap that they've acknowledged of them not really adding much armor in game if they were actually customizable properly.
But the issue is, Harry, is as far as we can tell, is that not what these are for? Like, they said, "Oh, we need to add more." We've noticed that there's more. Most of the things are like DLC, right? Most of the armor we add is DLC. We're looking at that. And then they released the Christmas armor, and now they're releasing the Oktoberfest armor. Maybe that is their solution. They don't see it being customizable as a prerequisite to it being not DLC. If you get what I mean.
Well, and it isn't inherently, but that doesn't in any way add a justification though for it not being customizable.
Well, it doesn't really add much armor to the game normally. DLC armor is more available than limited time event armor, right? So, the DLC armor is more valid as armor than like this Oktoberfest one, because you miss Oktoberfest and you have the year where you're not going to be able to get that armor. DLC, you can buy it whenever you want that armor, you get that armor.
Now we've got to introduce limited time DLCs. It's got to happen. Is that a thing? Is that a thing anywhere?
I don't doubt somewhere in some game something EA's got their
Destiny.
I reckon.
I don't actually know that. I'm just saying it.
A lot bigger, but you need to get like the DLCs before. I think most of the time, that's how they run it. But yeah.
But yeah.
Drink break.
Oh, okay.
I think we should expect Halloween armor, not inherently this Halloween, but I think
right. Yes.
Yeah, heading towards a point in time where every holiday event will have an armor.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think should be done, but I think it should be done, one a year, really.
That
to be
would
honest.
be a pretty good way of going about it. Because it would be like going into each year for the next couple of years, could be like which event is going to get armor. And I don't know. I think it could get interesting because some like Halloween ones, like it being a costume, can be taken very literally, and it could pair with like helmets. Like you would actually have full on like full body costumes, and they could try and like retroactively add costumes for stuff. Like engineer could get the demon costume to pair with the demon mask, right? That kind of thing. Which I think would be pretty cool if they did that. And like pair the costumes. But with the other ones, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess like a bunny onesie would probably work, or like whatever the full body thing is for Easter.
Mission Control's actual clothes for Halloween. It's actual, but yeah, I mean, they're probably not going to do a bunny costume though, are they? But they're probably not going to do that.
They might.
They won't.
They're a bit quirky like that.
What the hell would a Lunar Festival one be then?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Is because it will change every
Summer
year.
event, Speedos, obviously, it all exists in the mod, so bring it over.
Yeah.
Speedos and sandals. Easy. Maybe give them tan lines as well, like bra tan line. Like a bra.
Well, it'd be like the tattoos on Roughneck where they've all got like different tan lines.
Yeah, like Well, what would they be then? Driller would have the bra, I reckon.
Yeah, Driller would have a bra. I think like Scout would have on it on its back, and it's when like people lay down to get like a tan, and someone else will put like some cream or just something that makes like it shape a word or something. He'd have that. He'd have like "kick me" written in like sunburn, or like not the sunburn area, something like that.
No, engineer would have that, and it would say platform here. It would say.
That would be very difficult to write on its back and be readable.
It's back. What do you mean it's back? He's just a creature. He's a thing. It's so hot. Is it hot for you?
It's not real, right? Yeah, it's fucking melting.
Yeah, and it's. I did say there was a heat wave coming, and it's fucking September, man. It's like hotter than it was at any point in August. I'm pretty sure.
It is literally constant sweat for the last 3 days. Day, night, day, night, day, night. Just...
Day and night. It's pretty cool, especially because yesterday I had to go and help my dad dig some fucking holes. Actually, no, we didn't dig any holes. I had to move fences. And someone stole my fucking bike, and someone stole my.
What?
Got robbed, Tyler. No.
Oh.
I mean, I didn't see it happen. It just.
Scott, you didn't get it back.
What?
So you just is there anything going on? Like, have you called the cops?
Called the cops.
What are you laughing? Is that not what you do when someone steals something?
I didn't call them. My dad reported it because he was like,
they won't even bother.
No, they won't bother looking for it. But he reported it or something. So like, oh, they need to put it in because otherwise, if they don't, the crime statistics are inaccurate. If we don't report it, pardon me. I was just so deeply unbothered though.
Bike, right? It's not a William bike. It's just a like a 100 bike.
Yeah, something like that. But it was very reliable. Actually, there was no reason for it to I wasn't going to get rid of it or anything. It was perfectly fine. So it's not it's not completely.
I guess you're just going to have to make use of the driving license you have.
I don't have a car.
There's a car on my road for 750 quid. It's a real brick, but actually I'm not sure it's still there because
someone's probably nicked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much like I'm gonna nick these.
One of my friends is selling his car.
Okay.
2 of my friends actually are selling their car. One of them's a nicer one. One of them's not a nicer one.
Okay, I'll talk to the nicer friend then. Maybe.
Well, no, the cars.
No.
Because one of the cars is actually pretty good, but obviously it will cost you more. And then the other one is a piece of. Well, it works and everything. It's a perfectly functioning car. It's just a granny's car.
It's like a frame, and the chair is like one of those school chairs.
It's all fully intact and everything works. It's just that it's really slow and a granny's car, and it looks awful.
You have to pedal it.
Yeah.
No, you have to you have to put a string to make it go.
You know those boats that's like a giant swan, and you have to pedal it. It's like those, but they added wheels to it, and
it's literally one of those, and they added Lego wheels to it, 100 Lego wheels just taped to the bottom, taped as well.
Downside of the more expensive one, other than it's more expensive, is that it's a Corsa.
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't want that.
No.
I don't think you want either of them, if I had to guess.
I think that would suit a granny's car.
Thanks.
It was a compliment.
No, actually, I do agree with that. I can't really deny that.
I think you could rock a shit brick.
Oh my god. I definitely could. I definitely could. Absolutely.
I could push out a shit brick.
I did. No, I didn't earlier. Actually, no, I did. I was on the toilet for half an hour again.
Yeah, we don't need to know this.
I used
to build a house out of my own feces.
Oh my god.
You want to date her? I'll have the house
I'm gonna
salad.
start- I'm
Me,
gonna start
worry,
collecting.
worry, cheese a termite. Oh.
Fuck.
Speaking of which, no.
I was at a family yesterday for Mitchell's birthday.
You were at a family.
And we asked Alexa for a joke, because they have an Alexa, and she told a joke, and it went like this: 3 conspiracy theorists went to a bar. You can't tell me that's just a coincidence.
Believe you.
And I fucking die. Like,
Three
I could not.
conspiracy theorists went to a bar. You can't tell me that's just a coincidence. Nah, that's not
Yeah.
really anything, to be
I
honest.
found that hilarious.
Yeah, I
and
can
nobody
tell.
else did.
I can tell you found that
Nobody else
funny.
did it at all. They were just looking at me.
Funny, that's why.
All right. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I was thinking about the fact that actually I commented on this when I did a trailer reaction that Ty was not present for.
Yeah, because you never fucking told me about it.
And I'm not going to, so I don't blame you.
What the fuck are you going at me for?
I'm not. I just said you weren't there. All I said was that you weren't there. That's it. That's it.
Because you never. I didn't even know about it.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's not fine.
That's fine. Anyway,
Actually, when was it?
12.
Oh yeah, I could have been there. I was here.
All right. Anyway, I talked about the fact that this is going to be technically because Oktoberfest last year was the first time that marked the introduction of the double performance point events, right? So Oktoberfest is the first time it's actually cycled back around to one that's already had double performance point event. So is it just going to be best worst
There is
cups,
no reason.
mugs? And it should be. We talked about it how it should absolutely should be. And we're just sort of we're just sort of assuming it will be as well. I think
the only reason why it might not have been what I was thinking of is because it was kind of like sausage themed as like a thing, right? It was like a sausage thing, but it
could be
seems like
buckets of sausages.
that is just continuing. That is just what Oktoberfest is going to be from now on, and therefore there is no reason for Best Worst to not still be here, and there is no reason for it to not still be the double performance, which means, all in all, it should still be like essentially no effort for them. It was just going to be on the designers doing the hat and the armor, which is good.
It's how it should be.
Because we don't really want them spending much more time on events, because I still stand by the fact that they need to fucking nail this next season. So don't wasting time on Oktoberfest.
Not speaking of which, still no actual word on that, by the way. Which
a patch note I saw, right?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the patch in a moment, but it's kind of like, it's not that I don't know if I'm worried. I don't really know how to rationalise my thoughts necessarily, but it's the truth is at this point we should have heard something. That's all I'm saying, and that is just a fact. Unfortunately, it doesn't make me particularly angry. Also, I might have to get the. Oh, thank God. Okay, so my nan pulled up outside the house, and I was thinking, hold on, none of my parents are home.
By his nan.
None of my parents are home, so what are we gonna do? I can't keep her occupied.
Come out of the car with
I think that she saw that neither of them are in, so she probably called my dad and was like, "Oh, where are you?" And it's like, "Oh, we're just over the hill and far away." As in, they're close enough where she could walk to see him, and I think that's exactly what she's doing. She's walked up the road. I'm just thinking, thank fucking God.
I think she's just lost.
No, she's not lost.
Dementia
you don't
kicked
like
in.
your nan.
I do like my nan. I just can't. I'm recording a podcast, Tom. I'm recording it.
You don't seem to care a lot about professionalism when you talk
You're not putting family first.
No, I would, but it would just annoy me.
Yeah,
That's all.
It doesn't matter if you get annoyed about it as long as you do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do the right thing, you're allowed to be pissed.
Which I guess means actions are more important than words. I guess.
Yeah, everyone thinks that.
Or actions are more important than what you think, I guess. As in, I am deeply bigoted, but I don't act that way. I don't.
What? That didn't sound like a joke.
It's okay. It's not. It's not. Like, that's the thing. It's like it's so bizarre, and I feel like such a
confirmed.
No, not racist. Nothing like that. I feel like such a weirdo though, because there's things that I understand at an academic level, having done like an A level in psychology, all these things, and I just disagree with them still. I feel like such an arsehole. All right, moving on. But moving on, please. Moving on, please.
We're not discuss your bigotedness more.
We're not going to discuss. I'm not a bigot.
I'd rather discuss that.
When I was around my families, it was one of the first topics they were on about. Because apparently one of the schools nearby, they're adding a kilt option for men, essentially.
Okay.
Or technically all the skirts are turning into kilts, which means that the girls will be wearing kilts, but also the guys can wear kilts. And
Okay.
my family were talking about how it's disgusting.
No, it's not. Put them in long black trousers in this fucking heat. See how they fare.
Yeah, your family's dumb as hell. Kilts are awesome.
And then
I would have worn a kilt in this weather.
I just feel sorry for
school uniform in this. I would have killed myself.
That are going to be treated as trans when they're just ripping their nation.
They're just hot. Just hot.
Shorts are a thing, Thomas. It's not like I can't wear jeans. The next option's a kilt. It's not like that. Like,
but did they ever let us wear shorts? No. But now the only option is it's either kilt or trousers. That's what it is.
Well, it's on them then.
People say kilts aren't manly.
If shorts were the option, I would have preferred that. There was in the fucking chippies, some like fucking fat ass Scottish guy came in, and I didn't actually know he was Scottish. But he had like a fucking like ginger shaved head, long ginger beard with a fucking kilt and like the golden medallions hanging off of it as well. And so I kind of assume he was Scottish.
You assumed he was of high order, high breeding.
He was a Highlander.
Yep.
Yeah. Probably just come down from his fucking castle.
Ruins.
Yeah.
I don't think
ruins
there's
now.
Intact castle.
1-0 England versus Scotland. We always fucking beat them, losers.
Okay.
That was funny. I know there was a thing in history where like England had like the plague. It was that one time, remember? And the Scots people didn't have the plague because they didn't really like mingle over the line. And so the Scotsmen saw the English as being really weak because we were dying of plague. So they invaded us and then caught the plague and brought it back to their country. And so that's pretty funny. Classic Scotsmen.
Anyway.
Classic stupid Scottish people.
No.
No.
We don't.
Idiots.
We can't insult Scottish people here. It's not what we do.
I probably have Scottish heritage, I assume.
I think I do.
Celtic, right? If you have ginger hair, you're Celtish. At some
Celtish.
Point, right?
Celtish. You are Celt-ish. Yeah.
Well, nowhere else did that, did it?
Did what?
There wasn't like red hair anywhere else in the world.
But no, it did. It did actually like evolve somewhere else in like Africa.
Oh.
Mm.
Yeah, like black ginger people that are actually like not from.
Well, I assume I'm more.
Ireland.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you're the one from Africa.
No, I think he is. I think he is actually.
Last I checked, I am the. If you were to invert a black person, you would get me. I think that's how that would work.
The most pale person ever.
Yeah.
Pale that like you're blinding because the sun just reflects off of your skin like a mirror.
I do kind of glow in the sunlight.
Do you?
It is a hazard.
I do, like on camera at least. I definitely do. Like you've seen that. I've become a fucking like light bulb when it's like really sunny and it's shining directly on me.
If I'm just on film, it's just a natural like brightness coming off of me.
Yeah.
I've got my own light source.
Tell you what's weird about Oktoberfest though is it starts on the 15th, which is next Thursday, or the 14th, which is next Thursday. What did it say? Can't remember, but it should be next Thursday. Either way, if it only lasts 2 weeks, it will end before October, which is just funny. But that's just
I don't think
stupid.
October is in October.
Oh. Now, wait, were you being silly, or did you mean Oktoberfest specifically? Oktoberfest apparently lasts from the 16th of September to the 3rd of October, so it's mostly in September anyway. But anyway, I was just thinking about the fact that, truthfully speaking, now it probably won't feel like this though, alright? But the truth is, this part of the year is naturally packed for Deep Rock, just naturally.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means for season 5, basically, because there's no actual like time that it fits in, like uninterrupted, basically. November. Well, yeah, November ideally, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I really don't, and I don't think that isn't too bad. Like I wasn't expecting November anyway. I wouldn't naturally, based on what we've seen, but I don't know. Like, are they maybe they're just planning on waiting, not waiting. But
it's either they do it in November, they get out a really quick one that still has a solid amount of stuff in it, and everyone's like, "Oh, that was nice and quick, thanks." Or it's the beginning of next year, and like it might have stuff in it, but it's gonna be too little, too late. Like, I don't know. I think the future of the game is really fucking sketchy. Like quite bad, and I think a lot of people can see it now. Right? We've thought that for a while, but this is like everyone's now kind of like, yeah, the game's in a bit of a weird place. Like, like.
Well, it's sketchy. It's sketchy for reasons that are pretty actually. The direct reasons are fairly transparent, though. That's the thing. It's literally just because they don't plan ahead, and they're pretty open about that. That's why things are sketchy, because the truth is there isn't a future in sight at any given time. The only thing that's in sight is the very next thing.
Yeah,
so
it's in sight for them, but it's not in sight for us. So
no.
as far as we know, they have no idea what's going on, because that's what we have, right? Until we have a roadmap, which we might not even get anymore, or the big first fucking teaser, the latest thing we know is that they don't know, right? Until they say otherwise, they do not know. That's as far as we're aware. And they're normally that for at least the first month or two, right? Whenever they're asked on the streams, they're normally like, we don't know yet. Like, we're still patching the other thing or whatever. And like, yeah, I mean, we think they've been back like definitely a month now, right? Since their holiday.
Well, yeah, for sure, obviously.
Oh my god, man.
What's wrong with you?
I'm gonna ask him that. Are you brain dead?
Yeah.
All right, good. Yeah. So I don't know what to expect. I think best case scenario, they're just kind of a month behind because of the break, and so we might hear something of them soon. But yeah,
it's just the straight up my opinion is that we just should. I think I know these things duplicate people. That's also the truth. They really do. Like, people just like, they see this stuff like Oktoberfest and they just like suddenly they're brainless. They're airheads immediately. They're just like, oh, rock and stone, and it's like, yes, cool, it's nice, but I just don't, and I don't like the idea that they actually know that it's placating people, because it just doesn't work on me. Right, it don't work on me. No matter how like nice it is to have things like this, I'm not gonna forget. So it's almost just like part of it almost becomes a little bit worse, where it almost feels like these things are just sort of pushing back the main updates. Not actually pushing them back, but although in a way they kind of did. But in the sense that it just makes me even more like, where's the proper news? Whereas everyone else, or at least a lot of people, are placated in the sense that they don't need to think about anything else. Yet it just makes me, in some ways, more paranoid, which I don't think is probably not a healthy outlook, though, either. But the truth is, if you go back a year from now, we knew some stuff about Season 3. We had a roadmap, for example, but we're also heavily considering the possibility that they just won't bother this time. And that's the thing. It honestly feels really likely that they would just keep going until they can start teasing stuff for Season 5. But I don't know. It's like, this almost like...
It's a really bad idea.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Like, everyone is is dead. the fucking it's an absolute hollow like shell of its normal self, and it's because they essentially abandon the community, right? Because obviously the teasers are like the most they bring everyone in mainly because devs, right? Or it's the devs saying that we're here, this is what we're adding, and it's getting people excited for the next season. But it's also just it's nice to have the devs there like so frequently and
That's
like
why I like
showing
getting
what they're
patch
doing.
notes. That's why I like.
Yeah, again, and that's why I think people like patch notes. Like they generally click on them. Like it is good to know that they're still doing something. But as far as we know, and as far as I don't actually know what this patch note included, but like essentially what they're like portraying is that they're still patching the last season. Like they're definitely and know what they're doing for next season, but we don't know that. They've never expressed like verbally heard, or like in a way audible enough for anyone to hear. Did they not mention that they were hard at work at season 5 in the news post, the scene stuff? They normally do, right? Or they used to.
Didn't use season 5. It depends on what exactly you're talking about. What post
Normally they
specifically?
say at the end of their post like we're working hard at work at the next whatever, right? They normally say that.
Well, it was literally just the only thing of like in that vein recently would be on the actual on the board game thing, where it's like an important note because I think the main post was from Mood Publishing. I'm not sure, but either way, there was like a note at the beginning of the post. It was like all the work is like done by Mood Publishing and all that stuff, and it's like here at Ghost Ship Games we're still hard at work developing more deep rock content for Steam and other platforms. More on that soon, and that can technically be bundled into Oktoberfest, given that came immediately afterwards. It's like it didn't mention season 5, and it's just more on that soon. So it's it's like
that was just mainly them dismissing the absolute genuine retards that think that work going into the board game is work not going into the fucking thing, right?
yeah, or
Like,
work going into like the other game, for example. Although yeah, didn't Troll say something like there was like it was like around that time there was like a bit of it was a bit different around that time, like a little bit or something around the time the
yeah,
publishing thing started, but it would be because it was it was sort of spearheaded into existence at least, and it's still
I'm
partly
sure,
run
like,
by the main guys at Ghost Ship, so there
yeah, I'm
definitely
sure
would have been like
it's following,
creative direction would have been a bit absent while they
yeah.
were forming the publishing like company, but that wouldn't have taken long, but it was still a thing. Like there was still some attention taken away, even if it's like not much, but
Attention, not inherently manpower. Um, like they're probably doing just as much stuff, just with less like direction and like Mikkel probably wasn't as hands on as he normally is, with like his stuff. So they're probably just kind of treading air a little bit. I don't
yeah.
know. It's a theory, a game theory.
You could easily
But
say that they're not being like as attentive as they used to be to the game, and I think that's true. But the truth is, like a lot of the it's just the amount of things that really need attention have dwindled. But the problem is
only
they're not being open where they could be. Like everyone knows that
the
the perk thing is so high up on everyone's list and theirs, and yet they're not being open about that as well.
the thing is,
But
Harry,
they could be.
is that the it's not that they've gotten worse at communicating like frequently. It's just that they only ever communicate when they add content, right? They only ever give us this stuff when there's a new event going on, or they only ever like talked about the game and like was like doing teasers when a new season was coming or a new update. And as those seasons and update got less and less frequent, the times they communicate with us get less and less frequent. So like,
And to some extent, they have overpromised before. I think a lot of people don't realize this. I mean, it wasn't that recently, but you know, this isn't overpromising. But season 1, before it was season 1, just update 35, I think it is. Yeah, it's 35. That did get delayed at one point. It got delayed from like Q3 that year to November, and I reckon it's completely feasible to me that they just sort of didn't want to be as open as they used to be because of things like that. They want to avoid that. For example, if they'd done a roadmap early on for season 4. They
No,
probably would have had to delay it.
No, I'm sorry, but there is if they think that's the case, it's because they are genuinely so inexperienced with having to deal with that they think that's a good choice. Because it is just a fact that everyone would be, or everyone, like I would say already, there's probably like 5% of people in the community, like active community, are volatile little shit goblins that actively hate on Ghost Ship, right? There's probably like
I have
I would
seen
say
those
about
people.
half
And
that.
it's
Yeah.
interesting those people do actually exist, and this is sort of the difference between now and back when we were in the real Doomer phase, is that there are some people who are sort of
I mean,
the way that
from
we
what I
were then now.
recall,
These
there are
people do exist now. They kind of didn't back then, but they do actually do now, and that is some. It's a
They-
minority still, but they do exist. But they do.
Yeah, well, I think that they've always existed, but they never usually spoke up publicly. I remember Ghost Ship complaining about people DMing them on Discord with just like hate comments and death threats, just like
Ooh.
casually, during I think it was like early seasons, and I remember them mentioning that. So they were always existed, but they never publicly said all that stuff really. But now I would say as much as 5% of the player base are toxic little shit goblins, like 10% are not far off that. Like they're more willing to shit on Ghost Ship. Not obviously death threats, but like just generally. So I think like more and more people are kind of falling into the pit of disliking the game and disliking Ghost Ship. And I think that would stop being the case if Ghost Ship just taught more.
Yeah.
I said it once, said it again. The amount of people that I think have fallen into that pit because this later season took so long yet gave so little, and they don't know why. That's the key thing. They do not know why. If Ghost Ship just publicly said, "Hey, it's because we worked on the the events a lot, like for the first couple months. B, the publishing did slow us down a little bit more than we're willing to admit, and we did the anniversary version, which took a bit of manpower, so that slowed us down. Like C, we just took a break in December and stuff like that. Like if they just like told us the truth and just admitted what what their schedule is like, then people would be a lot more understanding. But as far as it seems right now, they're just not working. Right? Like there is
Well,
no
unfortunately, well,
signs.
the right now you couldn't actually make that claim. Technically, you really couldn't.
No, right
There
now,
would be evidence
no,
against
yeah,
you to that
but,
claim.
but right now, the only thing we know that they're doing is they made the Oktoberfest event. They made the clothes and the hat, and they did a patch. Nothing they have shown implies that they're working on season 5. They obviously are, but there is no feedback in that, right? There is no we're chugging away at season 5. We'll give you news on that soon, or hey,
So fucking what?
so fucking what?
So fucking what? Give him a break.
Thomas, this is what we
They
do.
need
had
to
a
be
break.
like-
They had a month.
Thomas, this is what we
They're
do.
fucking boss. Let them do their own thing.
Okay, that's an interesting mindset. All right, Tom, shut up now. Where it's like I kind of just can't really get along with the people who, and they're actually not that common anymore, but the people who sort of try and, the way that they sort of shout down things is by saying, you're getting it for free, and like things like that, and it's just like I guess I want people to know that we're not operating under the assumption that we're sort of like owed anything or anything like that. We're operating under the assumption that, or operating through the lens of Ghost Ship's own sort of standards, and that they should want to treat their game well and things like that. Basically, every other reason you could conjure up outside of the fact that they owe us anything, because they don't. But there's so many other reasons why you should hold a developer to some kind of scrutiny, and it's because they deserve to do well. Basically,
I think a good game company is communicative with its audience. I think that is a sign of health in a community, and they are good at that in some areas, right? They do obviously do the bi-weekly. Is it bi-weekly? Is twice in a week or once in every 2 weeks?
bi-weekly is actually twice in a week. No,
Okay,
it's
so
twice.
bi-weekly streams.
It's every 2 weeks.
No, it's not. It's twice in a week.
You fucking idiot, Harry! Don't do this again.
Hold on.
Don't be overconfident when you're wrong.
I
You
think
need to. You can't be this
It's
confident.
both, Tom. It's literally both. Which is I thought it might be. It's just both. It can be either, which is really annoying.
Well, I'm using it in the way that it is, twice in 1 week, and also I don't know. That's pretty funny. But no, because I knew Harry wasn't wrong because I actually agreed with him. That's the key part there, Tom. Is he wasn't fighting to the death against both of us. It was just you two, and I was either way. But
which is correct. Which is.
Yeah, I'm right. Shocker.
Tyler's right.
Don't you fucking dare. Because whenever Harry tries to correct someone and gets it wrong, he's correcting me, which means I was right. I'm not going into this. I don't know where I was going in the first place now, though.
I'm going to come around your house.
Something about bi-weekly. You were talking about what they actually do.
They stream bi-weekly, so they are there. If you want to go to them, they're there, right? Plus, if they do appear, or like I think Jacob or Johan,
It's Jacob.
I forgot
It's Jacob.
Jacob is on like the Reddit a fair amount. I'm not sure how much activity is on the Discord. If you're a content creator, you can get in touch with them fairly easily. But I'm not sure about if you're not that. It's probably not that easy to get their attention on the Discord. So, I mean, it's like if you want to get to them, their doors are open. But they never really like walk out of their doors to make an announcement or just talk to you, really. That's not something they feel the need to do. Which
I really would like. I do think. Well, I don't think it's owed. I mean, because they don't do things like dev blogs, really. But I'm at the point where I'd like to see one thing like that. I just want to see something like that. I don't want it to be a regular thing, but I'd like to see some kind of something specifically on this. Because remember, this is sort of pretty much everything we do. We try to keep it based on what things that they've said and their own standards. And one of those big ones is obviously I don't know if schedule is the right word, but the plan that they originally had when they started seasons for them to be like 4 to 6 months. And given that sort of has been broken, I just want to know their view on that. On the plan. Not that I'm not inherently dragging them down. I just want to know what they think because they haven't said anything about the fact that a season took longer than 6 months. And I don't know why.
I'd love to see just like a Steam post or news post or whatever. Just them talking about their goals going into seasons and like how that has developed, because that's some of the juicy stuff that does occur during like the anniversary dev stream, right? When Mikkel talks about it, or Sorod, right? They talk about some of that juicy stuff, and like in a bit more detail. And sometimes you can get like someone on the dev stream to talk about it, but it's not really in the same kind of open way. But like, yeah, I'd love to get them to talk about like publicly, just without prompt as well. The 4 to 6 months and why that's probably not going to occur. Like if they just come out and say that, because right now everyone just knows that it's going to be 6 months minimum. Right?
Yes, that's true. I haven't seen anything recently where it's been like, oh, how long is it going to be? And then someone responds like, someone cites what they originally said, where it's like, oh, it's going to be like 4 to 6 months. No, it's always like, oh, it's probably going to be like at least 6 months. So you've got plenty of time. It's usually with things like regarding finishing the pass and things like that. It's like, oh, you've probably got at least 6 months. It's like, so yeah, it's pretty clearly everyone sort of understands that. And
but Ghost Ship never actually basically said that. As far as we're still concerned, Ghost Ship is just failing to meet their target.
The thing is, most people don't know about that though. That's the thing.
Well, I guess, but that's not untrue. It's just people have forgotten about it because it's worthless. Like in the first couple of seasons, that 4 to 6 come up like fairly often. But now it's just it's garbage. It's like 6 months, 6 and a bit months, 6 months. Now what, 7.5 months?
It was 7.5 months. That's the thing. So this is something that annoys me about some people, is the way that they talk about this stuff. Like I remember someone in multiple occasions where people sort of use the time as a criticism, and yet they get it wrong. Where they're like, oh, it took them 6 months to just make this, and I'm thinking, well, actually, if it was just 6 months, it wouldn't be that bad. And they're like, oh, it took them 6 months just to make, and then they list all the things in season 4. It's like, is that it? And I'm just thinking, well, actually, that would be fine. The problem, the actual problem is that it was longer than 6 months. It was actually 7.5, and they say 6 months. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, because they're just getting it wrong, and it just kind of annoys me, because the problem with season 4 is how long it took, and it wouldn't have been a problem if it was actually just 6 months. I think, genuinely, I think.
Well, yeah.
I'm saying I don't think there would have been any issues with season 4 if it was that long. But even then,
there would have been some. Can't deny there would have been some, but it would have been the same amount of issue that season 2 had, essentially, where it's just like, oh, part 2 again, come on, Ghost Ship. It would have been that kind of thing, except this time around it was, I cannot believe you have done this to us. You clearly must have not been working on the game or trying as hard to release this kind of thing in this amount of time. Like, actual genuine heartbreak instead of just disappointment. Just kind of like, oh, come on. But it would have been received a lot better if it was earlier. That much, I think, we can both agree on. Which also just makes sense.
And there's sort of other things that I want to sort of just know how they feel about. Like, for example, do they view it as essential to get more than one update out this year? I think that's a pretty big thing. I haven't heard anyone talk about it. I wonder if people care about that as well. Like, would they? By the time it comes around, I really don't know.
I think at this point in time, and this isn't another argument I think you can throw against us and anyone else who has our perspective on it. Deep Rock at this point in time is not a game that you should pay attention to for most of the time, right?
No,
it's clearly a game, and I think they've shown a slight inclination to not hating that idea, but with its size, you would always have it installed. So it's just a game that a new season comes out, you play it for as long as you can, put it down. An event, you break it up, play the event, put it down, play the event, put it down, play the event, put it down, and then the new season's out. And you don't think about it much more than that. That is the best way to consume Deep Rock at this point, really. Or just you gain enjoyment and satisfaction from either being new or just engaging in the community and not actually in just the game itself. It is not something that gives you a lot of feedback generally anymore.
Well, that's why I don't really like points, because the community it is thriving in a certain way. If you look at Reddit, they're such a happy bunch, aren't they? But the thing is, I think you have to view them as separate as well. To be honest, I don't think they represent what's actually going on with the game and the most of the people who play it. They're almost self-sustaining in a way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the Deep Rock Reddit is a separate entity to Deep Rock the game. I do think that, especially since most of the stuff on the Reddit doesn't even come from the game. I guess there's gameplay and new people that don't know what the game is, and obviously it's based on the game. But it's likely memes about stuff that players came up with in the first place, Driller C4ing, the Scout, all that stuff. Or someone doing fan art on that. That's pretty normal for a community, but I don't know. It's just weird. It's just in a place where we're talking about it now because we got a little bit of news, but I don't think we'll be able to talk about it next week. Especially, next week the event won't be out then.
Yes, it will.
Will it?
Yeah.
Oh. No. You said 15th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, next week's 14th.
So you're saying what? So the 15th is the week after that? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that come next week, we would not be able to talk about the event.
Well, it is the 14th because I was sort of I remember it being 15th for some reason, but it obviously is 14th because it wouldn't start Friday. So, yes. Well, no, I think you'd be surprised. I still want to sort of cover those comments, and there is actually an interesting topic here that could be sparked. I kind of want to put it on the back burner for now. I think we're just gonna cover the patch and then shift topics.
I'm not sure I want to talk about it because even if it is interesting, if it's to do with Deep Rock, there's no fucking point. Like, it's not going anywhere. Nothing's changing. Like, we've had this conversation tens of times now, and they're still just as silent as they always are. Not that they should inherently be listening to us, but it's just kind of getting a bit tiring. Saying the same thing over again, like, oh, we kind of hope that they start doing things a bit better, or release updates a bit quicker, or add the content we actually want. And we've been saying that since like season 2, like when they or at least season 3, and it's now almost a year later, right? Like, we started Doomering this time last year, and so we've been kind of like, oh, ship your slacking, please pull it together for a year now. And it's really, how long can we say you're slacking until they've slacked? I don't know what the term would be for that, but like they're not putting themselves back up. Or at least for us, right? Like, how long is it going to take before we realize that the ghost ship that we fell in love with years ago isn't there anymore? Or I guess not even just a ghost ship, just the game Deep Rock Galactic, made by the ghost ship games that we knew. That combination is gone. Deep Rock is a different game, and Ghost Ship is a different company that makes both of the stuff differently. And how long it's going to take for us to realize that we might not get what we want ever. And that kind of thing. We're probably going to get the perk rework. That much I think we can comfortably say. But basically, all the other things we would want, we don't know, and they might never do. And obviously not just the weird other ideas, but I mean, even just the thing is more overclocks. I mean, that's, we're over a year since they added the secondaries. We could be seeing more overclocks soon. You would assume, but technically we did, in all fairness, but also not really.
Well, isn't one of the big points how they are like pretty much exactly the same, and that's in some ways is actually hindering them because they're not really becoming a bigger company or anything like that. And in fact, they're almost like refusing to, from what we've observed.
Yeah.
And maybe, oh shit, I forgot what I was going to say. I had a good point as well. Damn it.
Is it that maybe Ghost Ship is staying the same yet Deep Rock isn't?
Well, I think maybe that they could almost be afraid of getting bigger, in a sense. So because they might be. I think they're probably very protective of their image as like the indie company who's working on this massively popular game. So I just wonder how long it's going to take for people to stop treating it like an indie game, because it's so much bigger than an indie game. But
yeah, no, I think a very interesting part that needs to being that's going to, Deep Rock was known for its community. Its community is getting pretty bad. Like, it's not that bad yet. It's still one of the best out there going. But if the reaction to this season is the same for next season, then because that's not a great community.
What makes the community so good? Not just the qualities, but what about the game gives those qualities? Like, I think probably one of the main things because obviously one of the main things of the community is that it's quite new person friendly, at least, and like there's a lot, and I think it's that mostly it's a lot of old players who are supportive, and then like key members in the community.
Yeah, and then with the with the way the game is played,
but the old people aren't sticking around, which is then meaning that it's just not as many greybeards, which are what carries the community.
Yeah,
because as you guys have been saying for ages, I was just thinking about that, like we always noticed that it's not really greybeard friendly. They're constantly trying to get new people in, but what makes it such a good experience for the new people is all the greybeards. But the greybeards are moving on because the game is just catering to new people. But new people are toxic,
Yeah. So, and I think
People
that
who've been around the
might
block
be a
for
key thing.
in the game for years that are not toxic anymore, because what's the point? They've
Yeah,
long surpassed that, and then they're just friendly, helpful greybeards
the
who are
good
then
role
like
models are kind
team
of
members.
the good
Yeah,
role models are
who are
kind
then
of
like
dying off.
on the discords and on the Reddits and everything, who are in the games helping people and whatever. Those people are moving, like just stopping playing, like you guys really.
And I think this is actually a somewhat interesting point. They've moved on to mods. They're not playing the base game anymore. Like they like a lot of players are just playing with the modded versions with the time 6 difficulties.
Considering Ghost Ship's smaller size in comparison to other things, they should try cooperating with modders to provide a
Well,
higher quantity of content.
they're already.
They'll basically be outsourcing it to people who are already doing it,
I mean, all it would take is for them to
which
get
would
it.
then take the burden off them and add a lot of content that people like. But have all that content as like temporary testing content. It's like, oh, it could be removed, so don't get too reliant on it.
First of all, they have no intentions of doing that. They like even if a mod has a really good idea, they don't want to take it from the mod. They would have to like remake it essentially. Like they have been very explicit that they will never just kind of like copy and paste a mod, even though it would be obviously easier for everyone and beneficial. They refuse to. So that's something they've pretty clearly shown they didn't want to do.
Do you respect that, or do you think that's like obtuse and like, unhelpful?
I think the stuff that they've done is pretty solid. Like the stuff that they've recognized, the mods just did better. Like the what's it? The pedometer, is that
the anglometer, the drill's
Anglometer.
anglometer. I mean, I know that's what you're going to bring up because I actually can't think of any others.
Oh, the copy and paste that they added recently.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that it's weird that it wasn't already in the game. Kind of mods they seem to like porting over, but as far as like ideas go, like you know the I don't know the Rockpox game mode. I think Banishment Raid, right? The I don't know all the other stuff out there. They're not that fond of just porting over. Even though Banishment is probably like very close to them. Like he's like one of the biggest modders. He probably has access to files most people don't.
Like Banishment has made some amazing stuff, and it is just weird like how much he's able to make as well. It's just bizarre when you look at it. It's like, how did he make all this like so quickly?
And he's like one guy, and it's like, go shit, what? Like, how's this guy one upping you? But ultimately, like, it's probably somewhat easier to do it all yourself.
He is also technically. I think what he does is also. I don't think he actually does create new assets. In a way, he does because of how much he repurposes things. Like deconstructs pre-existing stuff and puts it back together, but it still all comes from what's already in the game. So there's sort of that, and also the fact that he can. I mean, we don't know what he does in his real personal life, but the truth is, he can spend as much time as he wants to on it. The Ghost Ship employees actually can't. What the hell?
Schedule.
Yeah. Did Tom just flip? Like, did you just move the icons? Tom's in the middle now for me.
No.
Okay. Oh dear. That was upsetting. I mean, I do think I do think it's changed definitely. And I think it's changed in terms of basically what they spend most of their time making. Because I think Axis Kronos had a point about how the game was kept like really fresh for people who were playing it, because they pretty much every update added like new systems, and we were like, well, that's not very realistic. And I don't think it is realistic anymore. I think the more systems you add, the harder it gets to add them. But that is definitely what was making it interesting. So it could just be that what they're doing now is inevitably less interesting. It could just be down to that. Really,
they haven't really added like anything. like not obviously not technically, but like I guess going by systems, they really haven't added anything other than the battle pass.
but their goals have moved away somewhat from adding things in that sense. They still do it. It's still like I think they still intend for it to be roughly half of the updates, but the other half is not meant to be. It all still sticks around in some capacity. But half of what they're doing is not traditional content anymore. That's just the truth of it. So that sort of just gives the whole thing a different vibe. But I still think they're working in the same way as I still think they operate in the exact same way as a company. But I think it's obvious that the direction of what they're making has changed somewhat. And I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if it's for better or worse. I think it is definitely for the better for them. It could be for the worse for us.
Yeah, so far, I mean, once again, I don't know. The numbers are up. Like, that's the thing you've got to like. The game has felt like it's going kind of downhill for like the last couple of seasons. Yet, like season 3, we were dooming hard. We didn't like it much. Like, obviously, it's not the end of the world, but you know, it was pretty rough. But the numbers, it peaked. That was the all-time highest Deep Rock thing. Deep Rock was the most talked about, like mainstream, like all that stuff. Like all of that occurred in season 3, which we didn't really like. And Axis didn't like, and I think a fair amount of other people didn't like. So like it's kind of weird that a season that generally people invested in the game didn't like, the number of players skyrocketed, and I think that might be something that Ghost Ship is trying to play with or recognizes, and it's basically like if you try and please people like us, you don't get numbers because I would season 4 was solid, kind of right in some areas it added things a lot better.
And the truth is, people like us have gotten enough time out of the game for it to be worth its money. That is the fact. That is a fact. But the truth is, we are probably asking for too much, like by asking for anything. To be honest, because the game is absolutely worth its money, and you can get more than enough time out of it. I do wish it had like a really solid end game loop. Still, that's still one of my biggest wishes. But obviously, that's not like I understand why they can't really prioritize that in any way. And shit, I just forgot what I was going to say. Fuck, I keep doing this. But it was another actually good point. Oh, shit. What was I? How did...
You just don't have any good points, and you keep pretending to forget them, but it's all part
No,
of the plan.
No. I've got points. I've got points. Bollocks. Bollocks.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it had something to do with player count and things like that. And it's just like they're just more focused on retention now. But that's the thing. I don't know if that's working though, and I think that is something that is relevant now because obviously they're once again doing even more of the events. Once again,
a bit of a metaphor could be, they're spending more time trying to like keep the ship afloat than actually like improving it, like that kind of thing. They seem to care more about like keeping players around than like giving players a reason to stick around. like they prefer events, empty bits of content that bring people on because they kind of have to, or it gives them a reason to, at least enough, than having meaty seasons that actually keep them playing. Which is a pretty bad faith way of interpreting it, but I don't know. I am still of the opinion that if I was the choice in the matter, events wouldn't have gotten an upgrade, and we would have I prefer better, quicker seasons, that kind of thing. But that's clearly not what they're doing, and we kind of have to accept that. But I don't know. It's just I don't like thinking about Deep Rock nowadays. That's kind of the fact of the matter. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth talking about it. Like we haven't talked about Deep Rock in like weeks, like, and we talk about it now, and we're talking about how downhill it is and how what they could do better, and that seems to always be where it ends up, right? Like all the podcasts tend to end up talking about what they're doing wrong, or what we think they're doing wrong, or like what we don't like about stuff. And obviously, yeah, humans seem to be more inclined in what they don't like, but like, I don't know. And obviously, everything it is just like the game. Honestly, right now, what's in it is good. It's still, like, as you say, worth its money. But even more than that, it's still like really good content. Like we like rock pops more than most people do. We like rifles more than most people do. I have no real sore spots other than probably escort duty, right? Like the game is really, really solid. It's just that the future looks so grim, and it's
I
like,
don't think it is grim.
why?
I just think it's because it's just been playing it for so long. I think that's it. I think it would look bad to anyone who's at this point. Well, I guess the problem is I just don't. I think it's just when I think objectively, I don't think we're wrong, but I obviously do think there's an element of just of just having known about Deep Rock almost for too long could be a part of it, and almost thinking about it too much as well.
I mean, so what's the solution? Just move on then. Like, you play Deep Rock for too long, you're no longer part of their you're no longer part of their equation. They no longer want you around. Leave. Like, what is that? Is that what you saying? Like, it's not a game worth
no.
getting invested in.
No,
Is
but I
that
do
what-
think that could be the cause of it becoming a bit more tiring. Think about though, and I don't think that's cause to move on because I think it's still something so much potential as well. But yeah, I think they kind of just maybe they are stuck a little bit, to be honest. Because they can't do. I just don't think they actually can do that much with where they're at, and I think they're just sort of.
I'm sure they can. No, I am sure that, like, we're here talking like doomering, like, what can they do? What's going on? Like, well, I'm sure where they're currently working away, tap 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 tap. They're having a fucking whale of a time because
Well,
all the
I do
ideas that are
literally
falling out
mean
of it.
I literally mean in
And-
terms of production speed though. I don't mean anything else. Just,
No, I believe they're entirely in the flow, like Mojo. Like, I genuinely believe that they are there. They are doing everything like as seamlessly as always. But we are getting none of that back. Like, genuinely, I don't think they're struggling. They have no reason to be struggling. There's tons and tons and tons of things they can be doing, right? Like, we know perk overhaul, overclocks, biome, biggest three easily. They could easily just say one of those, boom, done. Like, have that in a season, people are going to be chuffed. Easy as. And even if they don't do those three things, they're going to be doing some other things as well. Tons of other stupid little weird things. Cosmetics are going to, I'm sure they're pumping it out. They've already pumped out some with this, right? They are doing stuff, and they are doing stuff as well and as passionately as they always do. But we just can't believe that because there's no evidence. There's no evidence that they're doing stuff other than patching the last season still, 3 and a bit months in, and doing this event cosmetics and the board game, but they didn't have anything to do with that. I don't know. It's just we just got some news, right? Literally a roadmap, well, not even a roadmap.
well,
just
that's why I
them
don't
saying-
think. Well, that's why I don't think things are actually like. I don't think things are that bad because I think that's the only thing that's truly missing. I know it's only the main reason it's frustrating is because they definitely could do it as well. And that's all it is. I think if they really were more, we got more news and things like that, and I think we should be able to. I think it would feel so much better. So that's why I
literally
think your
just, like,
concerns would be pretty
they just-
downplayed if they were like really
like,
open about things.
they just like pinned just a Reddit post, no, in a post really, just like the title, from like Jacob, whatever. The perk rework is coming, and then it's like look forward to it, and that's like it. That's the entire thing. Like, if they could just say that, then people would be down for like 8 months of wait. Like, genuinely, like, I think if they know the content they want is coming, they don't care about the wait. The issue was we were waiting and not knowing what the content was, and when we got the content, it was content that no one wanted, right? Like, right now, we are waiting an undetermined amount of time for undetermined content. We are waiting for something that could be like right as of right now, like 4 months away still, like 5 months away if it's like 8, if they get even longer, right? But like let's actually lowball it, 3 months away, 6 months, which I doubt. So I'm gonna go with 4. 7 is genuinely where I think we're gonna be looking at. We're looking at about 4 more months of wait for content we do not know we will like at all. We have no idea what the content will be, and we won't know for like another 2 months. Then we might start getting stuff, and it's like, why would you look forward to that if you only if you had complete faith in the company Would you actually genuinely sit there and wait 4 months for an update that you have no idea what's going to be in it and no reasons to think it's going to be anything you would want? And especially since the last update, that was the mistake they made. Nobody wanted the content they added. Not that it was bad content, just nobody particularly wanted it, and they waited too long for it. People that were holding on hope, like, yes, please, like, you know, we waited all this time to get good content, got good content, but not the content they wanted. I think that's the thing. Like, right now, if everyone knew we had the perk rework coming, it wouldn't matter. It genuinely would not matter how long it took, or vice versa. If they told us November, they just said November, and like we all knew when it was, then we know a date to look forward to or a month to look forward to, and then the content is what the content is. If we have either, but right now we have no idea what we're getting, no signs in any direction. For all we know, we're getting Rockpox Part 3 with like jetty boots that shoot you into the ground quicker, so you take tons of fall damage, and a bunch of other the rivals are back, like all that shit.
I mean, that's something that one of those shit goblins would say, though. Especially that thing about jet boots that kill you. That's.
Yeah. I know, but like it is like, you know, we have to have faith that they aren't gonna fuck us over, right? And that has always been the case. But we've always had faith.
Well, I don't think I've never felt like they're going to fuck us over. In fact, most of what they've been doing has sort of proven to me that we're not going to get fucked over. I mean, I don't really know what that even means.
We got fucked over in season 4. We waited 7.5 months for that. Like, we have downplayed that a lot, and we have taken that on the chin because we had already come to terms with it. But seriously, 7.5 months in a game that used to release updates like every other month that were bigger and did more for the game than that what season 4 added.
It did more is definitely true. They weren't bigger every other month. That wasn't exactly right. That's not right at all. But it almost felt that way, and that's because pretty much every update was more impactful. But that's when the game was sort of really being made. It's much more difficult for them to feel impactful now, basically.
Yeah, and add more.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you know you can't add systems in place that will like revolutionize certain areas of the game, just add more stuff because it will probably be easier as well. But it wasn't more. It wasn't what people wanted. It wasn't revolutionary, and it took them the longest amount of time ever.
Well, this is why this is why I think it could help us a little bit as well to not be as focused on what we feel. Obviously, we should be, but it's like it's a really important thing. The actual response and how that's sort of changed recently. In terms of them actually getting some negative reception. That's important. Although we have been over that before, but that's still significant, especially in regards to like what's coming next. Are they going to face a similar thing? And what can they do to change that? But you know, we can't really. We probably made every suggestion we can as well, I think. And also, I think if we're right and if their heads are in the right place, and I think they probably are about what to do next. I mean, I do think season 4 was a bit of a coasting one. I think we probably are going to get some kind of perk rework next, and I think that is what a lot of people want.
But I genuinely think that if they are doing that, there is no reason to not announce it.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. The roadmap.
Yeah,
like it was. I did not realize how fucking important the roadmap was. Like literally having one thing. That's all it took. I mean, obviously, it normally like described the season as well. Like it would say, like, you know, like when it was the, you know, parabolic trajectory and all that, or like rival company maybe something or whatever, and then the continuation one, like that helped kind of give an idea of what the season thing would be. But like just the primaries, secondaries, grenades, and then what was even the recent one?
Enemies, that was just new enemies, and it actually worked. It did work as well, even though it wasn't very well published.
You know, like, it is something as well because it gives like people, like it gave us for sure, like definitely just speaking of like first person experiences, it gives us something to chew on for next season, right? Like every time we were like, okay, grenades, and then we did the entire podcast on what grenades they could add, and then we were like, okay, enemies, and then we did that entire bingo tier list, bingo card of like enemies. Like we just that was nice to just chew on the game. Like it was something to think of the game and the future of the game, and just have a reliable little thought to sit on. Nothing. We got nothing right now. There is no signs as to what we are hoping. Lord, are we hoping that they add the perk rework, like, or a biome or overclocks. One of those three, it'll be a hell yeah, but we don't know any of them, and they could be adding none of them. Especially considering last season, I think there was just as much reason to add any one of those three as well, but they didn't do it then. So maybe they've gotten the Rockbox 2 out of the way. They're freed up. They can do the thing that they want to do and that we want to do. We don't know. Nothing's certain, right? But they've not given us a tier list. Not tier list. Why the fuck has tier list gotten in my head? But the roadmap. I think that's
roadmap tier list.
Yeah. Well, that'd be pretty solid, wouldn't it?
It'll be pretty easy, to a certain extent, I think. Actually, no, it wouldn't, because there's like that one from ages ago that had like so much stuff on it that, do you remember the one where like the text started like fading out, and that was almost like a deliberate thing because that was like representing it getting
ideas, right?
It was spitballing, but at the same time, I don't want them to just spitball either. I just want them to tell us what they know they're doing. That's all.
That's what they know they're doing, and when they think they can do it. And that alone, I did not realize until now how much that did for like comfort of mind, right? And I would like to hope that they realize it as well, since if they have decided to doing roadmaps, I almost said tier list again, like the that maybe it's not a great idea, and I hope they can somehow figure that out. Like maybe they themselves feel weird and having not announced it. Maybe they notice an uptick in people being like, "When's the new season?"
Well, yeah, I don't see how it can't help them. I really don't see why they wouldn't want to do that. Because
unless they don't want to talk about it because they know that the date that they have to put in the roadmap is too far away, or what they're going to put in the roadmap they know people don't want. Unless they're genuinely afraid, which I don't think they're that big of cowards. I normally think that they are fairly confident in stuff they put out. I think that it had to take a lot of balls to release season 4. Like genuinely, like I think they knew this wouldn't please a lot of people. Because how could they? Right? All signs pointed to that not being a great idea, and yet they did it anyway.
Especially because they weren't really ever like. They were never inherently on board with the idea of sequel seasons. So that in and of itself sort of tells you that that season 4 isn't exactly what they intended.
Knew they had to continue Rockbox, which obviously we knew as well, right? That Rockbox needed more variation, and so they were like, "Fuck it, we're doing it now." And because I genuinely think they are generally confident, big balls enough to say if like. We are doing what we want. Like they say that fairly often, don't they? That they are adding and making the game that they want, and there's little that we can do about it. It's just normally the game they make is the game we want because they're good. I think that's where season 5 is right now. Like it's literally are they making the game that we like? Is the game they're making the game we want? I think that's what we're beginning to learn. Like, is the future of this game the game that we all hoped it would be, and that we were looking forward to?
I'd say the game is definitely what it was. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what it's going to be eventually, I don't. Yeah, I mean, personally, if I very honestly look at the trajectory, it's not going in a very I don't know what the word is because it's not bad. It's not negative. It's not getting worse. It's just it's not on an upward trajectory for me. I mean it is, but it also is at a baseline. Just the game getting more content is an upward trajectory for me. Like that's the thing.
We put this into words before. Like it is still technically going up the graph, but at the beginning, the graph was going up rapidly, really sharp growth upwards in improvement, adding a lot more content in like very few amount of time. The content's really good, all that stuff, and slowly during about the launch of the game and the seasons, it's still going up. It's still going up, but it's like going up a lot slower, a lot more like flat, but it's still going up, and we are just reaching the point where it's going up still, but it's going up so slowly and over such a long amount of time. Like the content added in season 4 did not improve the game by much.
Well,
It improved
I mean, Tyler, I think that once we get to I think once we get to something that people really want, something like any of the three big things that you mentioned, I think you're actually probably going to surprise you how good it's going to feel. Because truthfully, I think the reason why things have sort of been feeling like they've been getting worse for quite a while now is actually because it's both season 3 and season 4 are both culprits in not feeling particularly decisive. You know, season 2 even almost had this as well. The only reason season 2 felt decisive in some ways is that it added content that had a very obvious benefit to the game, which is new weapons. And I think any of the three things that you mentioned are that. And I think we are on the way to getting at least one of those in season 5 as well. So I think in terms of the actual content that's going to be added, it's probably looking pretty good. I can't help but be concerned about communication and frequency still, though. It's just weird to me. It's just
it does. There is a change. Let's not kid ourselves here. The lack of roadmap is weird.
Yeah.
It was weird last season, but it kind of was justified because of the anniversary. Like them waiting for the anniversary is fair enough. Releasing big news then, that makes sense. Waiting, there's nothing to wait for this time round, right? But there also, that we would have gotten the roadmap at the announcement of the summer event. And obviously the summer event was earlier last year and the season was earlier last year, so it wouldn't have made the same amount of sense, except for the summer event this year was later. So it would have synced up. If you know what I mean. Like it would have made sense to get the roadmap with the summer launch. But we didn't. And I think that, sad is, I guess, fair enough. They probably haven't done that much on it. They spent a month on holiday and a month probably patching it. But I would say releasing the roadmap with the Oktoberfest would have been a fairly good shout, right? If they had the roadmap,
well, they could. They could.
But they haven't.
Well, no, I mean, not with. I mean, oh yeah, what's as in you meant in the announcement?
Yeah, they wouldn't. I mean, unless they're not really going to do a Steam post on it, are they? There's no real reason to. I guess
Oktoberfest 2023 preview. This was just posted actually. Apparently, it's also getting just now. It's also getting a physical release for PS5. Lasts from September 14th to October 3rd, which is 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure. I think.
He said.
All right.
Then.
Special seasonal beer, best worst beer is back. Longbeard Freight whiffs it once again. Something specifically requested, sent a pilot with a service record free of DUIs. It's best worst mugs. PS5 physical version. And it's very, very focused on just that. It's very, very... Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that was quick. That confirmed things quickly. that cleared things up.
Would have been a damn fine time to release the roadmap, right? 3 months from the launch of the last one, right? If we're looking at 6 months, which apparently it was 4 to 6, but 6 months. Let's be realistic. 3 months in would have been really solid, right? A roadmap halfway through. That would have been nice. Now is a really good time. The game is lulling pretty damn hard, as the stats proved.
Well, yes, yes.
Some actual genuine strong points. Plus, Oktoberfest, right? I think that makes sense to announce the roadmap of the next season along with Oktoberfest. That just makes sense, right? Oktoberfest is a very Deep Rock specific holiday. It obviously technically isn't, but no other games really celebrate Oktoberfest. Right? It's Halloween, it's the Christmas, it's the Easter, and sometimes they do some other ones like Chinese New Year. But Oktoberfest is
it's Lunar Festival.
And so it would have made sense. It would have almost made about the same amount of sense as the anniversary to release it, like, and it would have been with that post. Right? That post would have had like the the Oktoberfest announcement, the roadmap announcement, and then like the physical PlayStation 5, and that would have been a whole big thing. But they didn't. Like that first thing, that situation I imagined, that sounded like something they would used to do, right?
Well,
Normally,
this is
on the roadmap doing other stuff.
Well, this is why I think this is actually something that's more recent. By the way, I think I understand getting tired of certain things, but the roadmap thing is a fairly recent thing that's we sort of picked up on. As in, it was really just a season 4 thing where they really didn't make any effort to sort of put it out anywhere, and by this point we really should have had one for season 5 as well. This to me is a weird recent thing where it really makes it feel like they're just dropping the roadmap idea, and I don't think that's a good idea at all. And I think that is relevant to talk about because that's well, the thing is, it's recent in the sense that it's not here yet, and it should be. That's what I mean by recent, and it really should be here.
Well, it took, it took how many months last season? Because it came out in November, and early November, wasn't it? Or is it like probably halfway through November?
Oh well, if you do want to go off of season 4 or season 4 roadmap from season 3, well, season 3 was like November, and then hold on, wasn't the anniversary like later this year as well?
Yeah, it was.
It was
like literally, it was like the 1st of May or something.
1st of March it would have been, not May.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And then like that was early November, so that's actually 5 months. We got it pretty close to season 4, actually.
If you think, 2.5 months, then I guess, right? And then so it's just weird though. It's just weird. Like, there's no real point. Like as much I'm really,
Well, it should be more decisive. It should be more decisive this time around. I do think season 4 was a bit scattered, like genuinely, especially based on what they were doing with the holiday events and things like that. I think they were not in a position to work on something major. And season 5 should be more decisive in like, okay, we're going to go down this particular road, that being perk overhaul, for example,
and then just do that as much as we possibly.
Yeah, I don't think there was something big like that for them to decide upon early on for season 4. Is what I'm saying.
Well, season 4, right?
It should be easy for season 5. Is what I'm saying.
They knew they had to do Rockbox Part 2. That's my assumption. Like
they didn't want to reveal that in the roadmap. So they didn't.
Yeah. And they didn't want to reveal that in the fucking teasers as well.
That's probably the first thing they knew as well. To be honest, they had to do that. I reckon. Which is why they held the roadmap off for a while until they knew they were adding something else of some substance that they could put on the roadmap, which is new enemies.
Yeah, when they realised that, okay, if we're adding new rock pots, we might as well add to the new normal pool. I assume was that they then followed logic, which essentially that was then basically the only thing they could announce, other than obviously. They didn't even announce it was Rockbox Part 2, did they?
They didn't announce that fact. That was literally first revealed to us when we saw the key art. Which was actually, I want to know when that was exactly in terms of how long before. Okay, it's right here. Oh, May 12th, actually, which is not too bad. It's about a month actually. It's about a month before launch of season 4.
Yeah.
That we knew. So yeah, they're just getting you a bit. It's just getting closer to the wire, and I guess the problem with that is. The main problem with that is if it's going to take a really long time. I think that won't be as bad if it's only going to be 6 months.
Yeah. Because I think that's something, like, if we are getting a roadmap and we still haven't got it yet, that bodes so poorly for when this update's coming out.
That's essentially what we were saying just now was right, and it's because they didn't decide early on what they were doing.
Right. Well, look at it like on the other side. When they announced the roadmap, it took them 2.5 months to release the update, right? Which normally, with the way they go about it, that probably means like the teaser started about a month after the roadmap. It sounds right. I would assume, or maybe even earlier. So basically, yeah, like if we are getting a roadmap, that will be like the first sign that it's some point soon, and we haven't got it yet. Yet I would have thought that we should have been getting it some point soon, or at least hearing about it some point soon, right? Like, if we're looking at 6 months, we're already 3 months in, And if it's 2.5 months, it should mean, I guess, halfway through this month, we should get the roadmap. Kind of. Because then it would be 3.5 months. And then 2.5 months would have made 6. Like, if we're looking at 6 months, we should be getting the roadmap within this month.
Yeah, I mean, we really, we just straight up should. Straight up.
Yeah. Which means if we're getting a roadmap and we don't get it this month, we're looking at 6+ months, and then we continue to not get the roadmaps. It even means like we're not getting a roadmap and we'll only realize as soon as we get the first teaser, or we're gonna get a roadmap so fucking late and then it's gonna kick in that like it's gonna be another 5 months
I
into
either
a season before we get a roadmap.
Yeah, I do want it either really soon or just to know that they're just not bothering with a roadmap. Because if they're not bothering with a roadmap, that doesn't inherently mean anything for the season. But if we do get a roadmap and it's really late because it took them that long to have stuff that they can announce, and that's concerning. Especially because, the perk thing's just so bizarre to me, because that's something they really should be able to announce long in advance. But at the same time, that is actually a bit of an anomaly, especially in regards to how they've been working recently, because that's something that they've been talking about for so long. I reckon they're probably really weirded out by the idea of actually putting it into action. It's like, so they probably got so many different routes to take as well.
It definitely feels like they know how big of an undertaking it's going to be. Like, genuinely, I think they might. It could actually be more work than the weapons. Because within the weapons, they already knew how a weapon works. They knew, we have to make a primary and a secondary, and then do that, and then make overclocks for them. They knew what they had to make. They just had to make it. With the perk rework, we could be looking at a complete refresh of the entire system, which means it's not just creating a new thing to be put into a current system. It's going to be a complete renewal of a system, which they have not done since they last did a perk rework, I think. So probably 4, maybe 3.5 years. And so it's, I imagine, the most daunting task ahead of them.
Yeah.
Especially since the next one would be another round of primary or just another round of weapons, but they know they're not doing that anytime soon. But they cannot put off the perk rework any longer, really, at least justifiably. The only thing I could see is that they have started the perk rework, but it might take a year, so they have to kind of do other things alongside.
I wouldn't have a problem with that personally. I just want to know. Yeah, I really wouldn't. But at the same time, in a way, you could say they haven't been working on it this whole time. They've been thinking about it for a long time, probably having infrequent discussions, but it's not actually being worked on. Yeah, that's awkward. And the truth is, I am still genuinely interested in any content that they add, especially because I'm pretty convinced it's going to be something that's at the top of people's lists next season. And then on top of that, whatever the kind of themed content will be, at least it's going to look different. And I will tell you, it was interesting when we first saw Rockpox to get that sort of pretty out of the blue new aesthetic for something. It is cool.
Well, I mean, plus obviously it's a new theme. Therefore, this season 5, even if they don't nail it, will probably do really well, right? Like with the Rockpox, we don't think they nailed season 3, but because it was new and it was marketed fairly well, Deep Rock boomed. So season 5, even if it isn't great, could still do numbers just because it's not a part 2. Yeah, we could be looking at a time, and I am just really, really hoping, copiuming.
You are coping.
We are on a timeline where season 5 just fucking nails it. I'm just hoping, because it just makes sense in my head that season 5, they just figure it out. They just find the perfect balance between getting tons of new people in and adding the exact right content. And I think the exact right content would be a perk rework and probably a biome. Perk rework being the side of the game. It's the two sides, right? Like they normally do. It'll be the seasonal part is the biome, and then the other side, like the equipment part, will go with is the perk rework. And I honestly though, Harry, I don't think that's that big, because I think the biome stuff is a lot more design than game coding. Like it's probably a fair amount of game coding, in fairness,
Probably
but it's
more. I'd say more so. Yes, I think. Yeah.
more designing the thing, but then the perks are going to be a lot more systems, a lot more mechanical, like how will this interact with the game, and then coding the actual abilities, and then the little people draw their little icons, and then probably particle effects for some things. Like I don't know, I think it'll probably be split pretty well between the two sides of teams, so they could probably both do a fair amount without interacting with each other, if you know what I mean. Like design people will not need to be too involved with the perk rework, so they can probably spend more time on designing the biome. And
Probably. I do think though we should be careful not to slip into like a hypothetical, like obsessing over a hypothetical season. I think those are very reasonable estimates, because obviously not assumptions, but maybe estimates is the right word. They're very reasonable estimates as what season 5 might bring. But I don't want to get hung up on that. But that obviously does speak to our current frustration, which is wanting to know this stuff.
This is obviously, I think, my ideal, and would you say your ideal season? Like, not even what the biome is or what the perk rework will entail. Just those two things is all they should be aiming for. Genuinely, that is, I would say, in our opinion, and I think the community's opinion, the two things people want most that's reasonable. Obviously, technically, a new set of weapons is on there, but that's not happening. And if they do that, then that's just copium. Like then I do like if they add adding.
Oh, you think that's them coping?
I think if they add a new set of guns within this or next season, I genuinely think that they have lost it.
No, I mean that would be. See, that's also a bit of an unfair hypothetical as well. To be honest, I think what is fair to say is that they know they want to work on perks, and the truth. So it's something that I have mentioned before is that I really, at the very least, something that I want to make sure of, or for them to make sure, is that they are doing what they want to do, and we know that they want to work on perks. So I just want to know that they're doing that, so I know that they're doing what they want to do. And I think they know that people want it as well. It is at the top. Like if you look at polls for new content, it's always at the top at the moment.
It strikes me as well that it's not for them. It's not just that they want to do the perk rework. I feel like it's the biggest, it's the laundry pile on their chair. That's what it strikes me as. It's something that they know is one of the biggest weak points of their game.
I think it's the biggest gameplay system that needs attention.
Yeah, it is like the weakest. Like it's like it's the weakest.
It's not. It's weird though, because I do genuinely consider it not weak in an actual damaging way, but that's kind of where we're at. I know that you might, but in my opinion, that is kind of just where we're at with Deep Rock, where it's like, even though it's not actually hurting it, it's still the thing. Like, as in, if you want to make a perfect game, you need to think, because it's not perfect, and that's all it is really. So you got to look at it.
Yeah, no, I genuinely, I don't think there's any other thing that needs as much attention as perks, right? I think you agree with that. Like,
well, yeah, but the thing that's going to make it something that damages the game is the only way it's going to damage the game is by everyone wanting it, but there not being any word on it. That's the only way that the perk system's going to actually hurt the game.
And plus, well, no, I think that it's not like it's impossible for them to fuck it up. I don't believe they will. No. But I'm sure they're concerned about it. Like, if they fuck up perks, how bad that would be. Genuinely, like that could ruin the game for a lot of people if they balls up perks. I don't know how you could do it that badly, but
well, honestly, in a lot of ways, I think certain things. I think the way perks are used is not going to change that much. I don't think.
It doesn't have to go as far, because honestly, I expect the removal of the worst version of perks. How you have to improve it through the system. I expect that to be completely removed, because that is actually genuinely nothing content. just like it is a waste of space in the game's code that there is like vampire that isn't the best version, that there's like multiple versions of vampire that is slightly worse than the best.
I guess
that,
I think that is probably the thing that could cause it to do some kind of damage. Is actually that the perk system could actually be not great for new players. I'm not sure if that's actually true, but it wouldn't surprise me, right?
yeah, as far as
that
as far
could
as
be
I
the
can
problem
tell,
with it.
well, as far as Ghost Ship themselves has spoken on it, like remember, I don't know who it was. It might have been Mickle. How he said like, you can get all the perks within like 100 hours, or like he basically phrases it in the like perks are incredibly easy to obtain, a lot more easier than they thought they would be, right? And I imagine that carries over to you will have the best version, or you could have the best version of a perk within probably the like 10 hours of playing the game, if that. Like if you just focus on like a certain perk that's from really early on in the past, you can have the best version of it immediately, and then what's the point in the worst ones? Um, and so that I don't know. That's how I would approach it: either removing them or integrating them as being part of the new system. In that you only have a certain amount of like perk points, which you then like. The, you can't have the best version of all the perks, but you can have like a slightly worse version because it's cheaper. Like that kind of system, I could see being put in place.
So, if you don't mind me sort of using this to once again bolster our frustrations, would it be appropriate to say like it would actually be like really great if we, for example, knew this was coming, and then if we had a roadmap that told us that perks were coming, that would be at least an entire episode, and it would just be brainstorming. There'd be no like sort of like other like, complaining or anything like that.
Right now, I don't want to think about it too much because, as far as we know, they're not doing it. But it's also the thing.
That's also. I think they are actually okay with that to a certain extent, and I think it's important to not get hung up on the fact that it's sometimes not great to think about, because I don't think they want people to think about the game all the time. So it's not abnormal. I don't think. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you're crazy. I don't.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't want to. I don't think about the game all the time. I never have. I genuinely like. This is something I forget about myself, but I am not the biggest fan of this game ever. It's probably top
No,
five.
You're just my side. Is it actually your top five?
It's gotta be. I'm sorry, but it's gotta be. But like, as far as technically, I am not a huge fan of that type of game. Of the like the horde shooter thing. There are parts of it I really do like the character customization and I like randomly generated stuff and like occurrences and like gathering stuff. I'm a bit of a hoarder in games generally, but
and that's
like,
why. Would you say that's probably why you can't like? So you certainly can't play a lot at once, or maybe actually you play like a couple hours when you do play at least. I guess.
Yeah, I don't
but it's
know.
like it almost it needs to be new every time, and it can be if you spent a lot of time away. Then suddenly the RNG can actually keep things fresh. But the RNG can't keep things fresh if you play every day. It can't.
Yeah, no,
it can only do so much. Which is why things like cave shapes are like really awesome like additions as well. I assume. Yeah, and that's why I'm still like confident in the content that they make. It's just it's interesting that so much of the problems we have are outside of that. It's not entirely, but there's a lot there, and it's also it's frustrating because I feel like they could alleviate that stuff quite easily. Well,
like that's the thing, is that it's so complicated to wrap our head around what our issues are, and it's like no issues we have with the game are in the game, really, most of the time. Our issues with the game is what's like not in the game yet, which we like think should be. Normally because like we don't bother thinking about it if we know they don't think about it. Like, as much as I would like alternate traversal and utility, I think that would essentially fill the role of a new dwarf with some. Like,
I still think subclasses is such a fucking fantastic idea. I'm not like
these are ideas that we do like generally, but we do not talk about anywhere close to the ideas that we know for sure that Ghost Ship themselves like. right? That it's not ones like a perk rework. Like we keep bringing this up because we know they want to add it themselves, yet they've yet to. That's the kind of stuff that irks me. And
Yeah.
like stuff that like everyone
Do you
kind
know
of
what
wants.
worries me about that? Honestly, it feels like the longer they don't do it, the harder it's going to get. So I really want them to put their foot down. And there's a problem. I'm not getting like putting their foot down vibes at all from Ghost Ship
I don't.
recently, and I wish I was.
Yeah, because honestly, if it was a perk rework, they could have. It's just a roadmap. Like genuinely, this is why I hope they're not doing a roadmap as much as and as stupid as that is. Because if they are and they say perk rework and it's in like a couple months, they should have known they're doing a perk rework now. They should have known it months ago.
Honestly, no, I wouldn't put it past them to just forget about their roadmap up to a certain point. But oh shit, maybe we should announce this. It's like,
Yeah,
they probably have
honestly,
been working on it for a while. It's also remember if it's like if now this is an awkward thing to say, but if they, for example, actually only start making a perk rework a decent time into season 5 development, they've still got a lot to go on to make it like well thought out still, because they've been thinking about it for so long. Maybe they don't need to start with that for season 5 necessarily.
Maybe, but I genuinely like if I was them, this is how like as soon as finished 4 perk rework, like genuinely like nothing else compares. Like the only other thing is probably the biome, and it doesn't compare. It pairs well with is how I see it. Like people will love the perk rework, but the rework wouldn't actually add anything new to do, if you know what I mean, right? Like you do need that kind of content for people to basically like, oh well, let's use these new perks or this new perk system in this new piece of content, which would I think the biome would pair well with because the biome uses all of the other content they've added so far, right? It's some of the best thing, right? All the game modes, all the warnings, all the anomalies, all the random encounters, all of that stuff occurs within a biome, and you know it's one of the freshest things you can do. It's just not always guaranteed because of the way they
This pigeon is fresh as fuck, bro.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think those two are ideal, but mainly the perk rework. But I genuinely think that maybe if they just do the perk rework, people will still not be too happy. Not happy. But I don't think it will be the huge boost in numbers. Like I think perk rework is the thing the game needs the most, and the biome is the thing players need the most. I think that might be a way of putting it.
Yeah,
like
and I would say like specifically, I feel like season 2 and 3 was sort of like or season 3 and 4. Sorry, actually no, season 2 as well. It was sort of all only half, and yet what we've proposed here for season 5 still encompasses what they sort of think of as what they need to do for a season, but it also covers both sides in a positive way, as in it's both what the game needs and what the players need. It's both of those things. I feel like pretty much most of the seasons haven't had both of those things, and yet a biome and a perk rework can be both of those things, but also still be a season. You know,
genuinely, like I think if we are informed that we're getting at least the perk rework, take as long as you goddamn need. Like, because that's the issue is it sounds like that might be asking too much of them, and it is in a short amount of time, right? In 6 months, that's damn near impossible. I don't doubt. Like the perk rework, I assume, is a lot, and the biome will be a lot. So, like, I would expect probably like 7 to 8 months. Like, but if it's those two things, I genuinely believe that's fair. Like, I think that will like it would have a huge player base in numbers, and I think a lot of people will come back and all of that stuff. But if they, you know, if it's neither and it takes 8 months,
yeah. See,
then
that's a problem. I think
you know,
if it's just because honestly, if it's neither, first of all, it shouldn't be neither, and if it's only one of those things, and like the other half is a bit more muted, that should be 6. Like it's just 6 months. That should be just 6 months. And that's what we're looking at. So we need something before we sort of talk about this again. Really,
exactly.
we need something, and until then, probably need to
This is basically our
lift our
thoughts
feet off
on
the
why.
lift our feet off the brakes, lift off the gases, I should say, for a little bit.
Because it's not a game worth putting your foot on the gas on for at the moment. It's not a game worth investing in as far as thinking about it like a game and not just playing it. Like it doesn't give the same feedback that it used to. In that, like, if you took the care to look at the game in a more broad way, you'd notice how amazing it is and all the new updates adding really cool things and all stuff like that. But now it's not that mostly. Now it's kind of half-assed, not half-assed, half full content being added like constantly, and I will prove that they had to add more Rockbox in part 2.
Yeah,
Rockbox was half made. They did not finish it, and they had to take another 7.5 months to clean it up and add diversity, which coming out of it, I don't think it did much. It did an amount, but it wasn't worth it. Genuinely, I think the Corruptor is like 80% of it. Like I think we were right. I think a mini boss was what the Rockbox needed, and I think it was a good job of it. Not
yeah,
that
I do think there's like a really strong like argument. I think in them new factions could arguably just be a bad idea. Like on a broader scale, I think they have done well with them.
I would be blown away.
You'll be blown away if what?
If they had a new faction in season 5.
Because so what I was going to say is that it's like they have in a certain extent they have done a good job and they're quite distinct, especially from like a visual and sound design concept and all these sorts of things. At the same time, they still struggled and it took them a really long time to flesh them out because they were spending a lot of time fleshing them out. Whereas things like the Stingtail and the Spreader, they immediately bolster the Glyphid's ranks because they are adding to something that already exists, rather than them just trying to just sort of formulate 2 new factions out of thin air and make them fully fleshed out. That's why they had to spend over a year on both of them separately. Rather that you can make exciting new enemies in the pre-existing species, especially now that we have Rockbox and Rivals. By the way, you don't have to forget about them either, as well.
Yeah, I think Rivals and Rockbox are pretty cool.
Honestly, a Mactera boss will send people over the moon because because Mactera are a pre-established thing, but you can still make it look unique and exciting and interesting to play against as well. It doesn't have to be a brand new enemy.
Or, in the new biome, that's the beehive biome, because that's obviously what it would be. Like, having a whole new, like, slew of, what are the actual bees called?
Deep Tora,
like, enemies. Where it's like, some of the bees are slightly bigger, and they're, like, essentially Mactera, but, like, bees. Like, that kind of thing. And they that thing we want bundles to do, where they go in and hit you? They do that with the stingers. They're essentially melee Mactera, the bigger bees. And then obviously you would have the normal hives and stuff. But like those are what I would say, because normally they always add enemies, right? Like they specifically add enemies this time around, but they always add enemies in seasons. And this enemies of season 5, if they add the biome, or whenever they add the biome, the enemies should just be the biome specific enemies. That's what they are. That's what they should be.
Yeah, it's something that I genuinely do want them to try their best to just avoid just completely creating something brand new for season 5. You don't actually have to do it. I think there's a way to not do that. As in bringing something in. This is more like in universe now, but bringing something in from outside Hoxie's, for example. Don't do that. I don't think they want to, by the way. I think they know that might be a bit tired. Yeah. I don't think they want to do that specifically again. But either way, you don't have to come up with something completely brand new for it to still be in service of a season theme. You can still do that. So.
You can still use some of the new mechanics, right? Like in this bee scenario, a beekeeping outfit being summonable probably wouldn't go awry, right? You stumble across some sort of bee-based enemy, or like I don't know. My point is
well, there could be like hive events. That could be like an event where you find like a giant hive and you need to maybe go in it.
Obviously, like I don't know. I think maybe because this would be the interesting one. If the biome inherently had like a summonable thing. Like that was kind of a thing. Like the biome's natural like threat basically caused you to always have the beekeeper uniform on, like near the beginning or like whenever you would need it. Like I don't know. I There's so much potential in this game, and that's the issue. Is because we or at least I genuinely I think they're missing it, and I think the more they miss it, the more they're never going to catch up, or like never going to actually do it. Like,
well, I mean, I personally think it's gonna feel pretty good immediately when they do anything that feels like it's tapping into that potential. And I guess the biggest problem is it just hasn't felt like that for the updates as a whole. I think there probably are small things you can point out, actually, in like pretty much all of the previous updates. But
the last time I remember everything, or not every, well, no, yeah, I would say enjoying everything a season added was season 2. I think the secondaries were amazing. We loved the Nemesis. I don't remember anything else. The Warning was solid. I'm not actually a huge fan of it, but obviously it was good. It was a nice step up. So I mean, season 2 was pretty solid all the way around, for us at least. But season 3, obviously, there was a lot of content we weren't a huge fan of. Like, I think the grenades are pointless. Like, other than the meringue, I forget the Ripper rather is in the game completely. Like, genuinely, like, well, it's as much as it's not the point. That's what it is. It's not the point. In that, I think it feels like they're losing the plot. That doesn't mean they are, but yeah. We can only really hope season 5 is better and hear something about it soon.
That's where the hope comes in. I think season 5 will be good. I just want to know something. That's all. And due to that fact, due to us not knowing anything, I think next week probably going to be what we were going to talk about. The other thing.
We have a little bit more time to
right?
chew on it.
Yeah, which is Seinfeld. Because we're not going to start talking about that now on air, certainly, because that would just make this episode too long, and like that would add in a topic. This has been a completely deep rock focused one, so that's perfectly fine.
No, I think it wouldn't hurt to just quickly throw in 6 out of 10.
You can't give a rating yet. You can't.
I can. I've played it for like 15 hours now, probably.
All right.
You can't. You played it for like a couple.
30 out of 60. That's my rating.
All right. I rate it season 3 out of season 5.
Ooh, season 3. That's harsh.
Yeah. I don't know though. As much as obviously we hated season 3 compared to season 4, it wasn't that bad.
What?
I played season 3 a lot more than I played season 4. You're gonna do that. A lot more reason to play.
You're gonna get angry soon.
Yeah.
Season 3 is the worst season.
I need a piss, so let's...
I need a piss as well. I think it's a perfect time to wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap my penis up in my balls.
Yeah.
If you've done that, you pull the ball like skin over your. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, which you could enjoy this. This was maybe a bit intense, maybe, but it wasn't too depressing, at least.
It's just our current thoughts on the future of the game, really. Like, it doesn't bode well because of season 4.
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't bode anything. Really. That's my issue. I want some boding, if you don't mind.
The no information means that they're staying the course, and the course is not good.
All right, I can agree with that for the most part. As in, I don't think it actually means that they're staying the course, but I think that is the natural conclusion. Yes, yes. Okay, that's fine. All right, it's over. It's Jova.
Anything to say, Tom? Thank you for being here, Tom, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.
No, he wasn't completely absent. You know,
He was there for like 1 point, and then he went
like 3
He was
minutes.
also playing Siege, I saw, which I'm gonna have to talk about that.
You have to
because that
confront him. You have to have an intervention. Of
yeah,
he's playing Siege.
cut that shit out.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you enjoyed, thank you as always for tuning in to the Barrel Vision podcast. That is it.
We'll
If
be
you want to
here
stay
next
up to date with all Deep Rock related matters, certainly news and patches, then feel free to ring my bell.
week.
Because I probably will need to do one on the actual Oktoberfest announcement, which feels dumb. I might just hide the trailer reaction. Because I feel bad having like that many videos in one day and one of them be like that. But I did say I'm gonna, I've got to do a video on every unique Steam post. That's sort of the principle I went at it from. Like, for example, I used the summer one as like a big example where it's like the announcement and the actual post of it just going live are the same thing. I don't need to do a video on both of those, but the actual Oktoberfest announcement, sure, it's also got the PlayStation thing bundled in with it, so I should probably head off and do that. Before I do that, I'm going to the toilet. And so is Tyler. So you should go to the toilet as well if you're listening.
Need a piss right now, audience member.
Yeah, you right now. One Piece is pretty good.
You actually watched it?
Not all of it.
Good.
First 2 episodes are really good, I think. So, I mean, as in, I think episode 3 is definitely not as good as the first 2 episodes.
Yeah. Episode 3, you are in the mansion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Usopp's arc.
Yeah.
And you've heard me talk about that. Although that is still better than it was in the anime.
Really? Okay.
I would say so.
I mean, I really liked episode 2. Was pretty great. Buggy's pretty great.
Yeah.
Buggy's pretty great. I mean, that's pretty much what I watched up to when I tried watching it, the anime, way back when. That was pretty much it. And I think, I've heard that people sort of think Buggy's better. Is that fair?
He's better then, right? Because Buggy is a very interesting character who you honestly think he isn't anything at the beginning, and then he keeps coming back and he keeps getting better.
Did he turn into a tiny man in the anime or the manga? Did they do that?
He had a whole arc. Or not like an arc, but Oda does these things at the beginning of chapters where he draws like single pictures, and it's like over a bunch of chapters it will tell a story. And Buggy had that as a little guy. He went on like a journey after he got sent flying.
Wow.
So yeah, and then he met Gaimon, who they didn't do in the show, and I just realised how sad that is. Thank you all for watching. I'll be sure to talk about this with Harry later.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Oh, hello, Thomas.
What the fuck does you want?
Tom, say the final word.
Thanking the audience.
What do you want the final word to be?
Nice.
Thank you, everyone, all of the thousands of people for tuning in today. We all really appreciate it. That anyone would watch anything that these retards make. It really is insane. Rock and Stone. Final words.